Get ready for Changing Worldviews with Sharon Hughes, the 30-minute show packed with an hour's worth of information, bringing you familiar guests on important issues such as immigration, education, the Middle East, culture, religion, and the changing worldviews of Americans and the world. You've seen her on Fox News, you've read her on the World Wide Web. Now here's Sharon.
For such a time as this.
Freeing the minds of the brainwashed masses.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Changing Worldviews. Today, hackers stealing millions of debit and credit card accounts from customers at Target over the holiday season dominated the headlines. But what happens to all the data that was stolen? It's up for sale. And in some cases, banks are the ones paying off the crooks to get the information back. Security expert Neil O'Farrell says there are many sites now selling the credit and debit card numbers that were stolen from Target customers, and the banks are trying to buy them up, trying to limit the damage. But the numbers aren't the only things the hackers have exposed. They also showed how vulnerable the current generation of credit cards is to fraud. Former Democratic National Committee Chairman Howard Dean said that the mandate in Obamacare and President Obama's health care law stipulating that virtually all Americans must buy health insurance or pay a fine wasn't necessary. According to Dean, the number of younger, healthier people enrolling in Obamacare who will theoretically broaden the risk pool of those in the insurance marketplace doesn't really matter that much. He says this is about the individual mandate. The individual mandate was not necessary, and it's probably a big political thing. And that is going to hurt the Democrats because people don't like to be told what to do by the government, no matter what party they're in. Well, here we are, the first full week of the new year, 2014. And as I've said last week, I really feel that this is going to be a year to repair, rebuild, restore, to repair what isn't working, to rebuild what's broken, to restore what has been lost. That's been on my mind for over a month now, and thinking and praying about what this new year may bring. And I have hope that things can turn around in our nation. And for each of us individually, if we will roll up our sleeves, if enough of us will roll up our sleeves and go to work on these 3 R's: repair, rebuild, restore. And by going to work, I mean first go to work on our knees, and then at our own dinner tables, and then out into our communities and our individual spheres of influence. It also means taking our civic responsibility more seriously by getting better educated on the issues, helping to inform others on them, and holding our politicians' feet to the fire. These are things that all of us can and should do. If we want a better year in 2014 than we had in 2013, then we have to pray more and we have to do more. These are serious times, but it doesn't do any good to just listen to the news and complain about what's wrong. That's not going to fix or change anything. We have to get engaged in helping to turn things around. So I want to encourage you to join me, to join us right now at the beginning of this year to grab a hold of the rope and help pull it over the line for what is good, for what is right, for what is the truth. And I'll be giving simple and effective ways that you can do just that on the show beginning this week as we talk about repairing, rebuilding, and restoring the family, one of the 4 main institutions or pillars of society. Actually, the very first one that God designed, originated, started, instituted for the well-being of us. So stay with me as we talk about one of the most controversial issues that is affecting the family today. I'll be right back. I want to tell you about a fantastic seminar that's coming up in the San Francisco Bay Area on January 17th and 18th. It's the Watchman on the Wall seminar put on by a ministry of Eagle's Wings. If you are just growing in your knowledge and passion for Israel, or you have been standing for Israel for years, this seminar will be an extraordinary way for you to be educated and activated on behalf of Israel and Jerusalem. There's 7 impacting teaching sessions. It's going to be held at the Father's House in Napa on Friday, January the 17th and Saturday, January the 18th. It's $89 per person, which includes all the materials, a manual, 8 CD audio teachings, and a DVD, or $149 per couple. You can register by going to www.eagleswings.to/WOTW or Watchman on the Wall, WOTW Napa, or call 1-800-519-4647, 1-800-519-4647 for the Watchman on the Wall seminar in Napa, California. Robert Stearns has been a major voice for Israel to the church and the world for many years. Join him and Miles and Catherine Weiss and many others who will be conducting this Watchman on the Wall seminar January 17th and 18th, and there is a student rate of $35 available with ID. Again, call 1-800-519-4647. Again, call 1-800-519-4647.
You're listening to Sharon Hughes, coming to you from the Wild Wild West, and we mean wild.
Okay, thanks for staying with us. You know, one of the issues that is affecting the family, as you well know, is the mainstreaming of the gay agenda. And a few years back, the American Psychiatric Association's removal of transgender preferences from their lists of disorders is just part of an international move to, quote, free individuals from gender oppression, which is defined as society's practice of dividing the human race into male and female. How is this affecting the family? We've been reporting on this for a while, and here's some of what we said.
Well, Debra, you know, we've all been doing research for this show. What new inroads into mainstreaming gay pride did you find?
Well, you know, we're mostly all aware that Disney, which is apparently and traditionally appealing to the traditional family, has had a gay pride, gay day for some time now, and the church world, the Reformed Judaism, the Unitarians, the Episcopalian Church, all of these are mainstreaming. But I was quite concerned, as I believe you were, with the Lifetime movie, which expressed a lifetime commitment to a girl like me. That is the concept of tolerance that was allegedly manifest through this young boy, this character who was conflicted as to his gender identity and changed his name to Gwen and began to dress as a girl. Now, it was a touching movie in that we had a mother whose heart was torn and who found her way to accept not only her son, but his diversion was a natural circumstance of his having been born a boy. But the opening song was with lyrics of a new dawn, a new day, a new life for me, I'm feeling good. And yet what we have is a disturbed young man who engaged in stealing, lying, deceiving his lover, being defiant against authority, drinking, and yet at the very end, when he was raped and killed by those that apparently demonstrated hate crime against him, he was said to have lived a life more than most, and instead of calling him he, it was she taught us how to love, because she loved us too much more than we deserved. So the implication, of course, is that there is a superiority to this bent, and it's to be embraced and celebrated, not just tolerated.
Yes, they had the actress who posed as the therapist there when the mother came for some counsel on this, and she said that basically all babies are little girls in the womb, and then at some point the little boys develop the male genitals, but in the brain with these people, they're still girls, so they might have a boy body but a girl brain, which of course is not scientific in terms of been proven. But that whole issue aside, as you say, the whole movie was, I think, a real effort to mainstream transgenderism.
Oh, by all means, it was a propaganda piece. And if you noted, that licensed therapist was born a biological male. So there was an agenda behind it. And to reiterate what you said at the beginning, our issue is not so much with people, but it is with an agenda. It is with something that is damaging and hurtful. And we can get more into that as we carry on.
Well, Audrey, you know, we could spend a whole show just talking about movies and the different things that Hollywood's Hollywood's doing. It seems like now every movie there's a gay scene, like a token homosexual in every movie that's coming out. Can you take us behind the scenes of other kinds of mainstreaming of this issue that's going on in the arts?
Sure. Not just made-for-TV movies like A Girl Like Me that Debra just described, but also in TV sitcoms and dramas have a tremendous impact on shaping how America views homosexuality because they're more accessible because not everyone is going out to the movies. There is at least 24 or more TV programs that have regular or recurring homosexual characters. All of them are portrayed in a positive light, and their lifestyle is normal as, we say, apple pie. Film critic Michael Medved affirms that, and he says that the reason for this is that in Hollywood, one is required to be gay-approving or else be labeled homophobic, and the burden of proof that one is not homophobic rests with each individual, forcing producers to promote gay characters that are almost uniformly and, of course, unrealistically positive.
Now, you're in the performing arts community there in New York City. I don't know which is more liberal, New York or San Francisco. I think San Francisco, but...
I don't know about that.
But do you feel the pressure, or do you see the signs of that kind of corporate pressure in that industry to accept this?
Oh, absolutely. There is. I agree with Michael Medved that there absolutely is pressure on the corporate end, but it's you cannot say anything as an actor to other actors that the behavior is incorrect, because you will be blacklisted without a doubt.
Well, it's interesting. We've done some talking about Tom Hanks in the Da Vinci Code, and also that movie, The Big Love, HBO's Big Love, which is about polygamy. That was a Tom Hanks production, but I caught a interview of him. One of the university's arts department interviewed him, and in that, he made a point of saying that his theatrical coach was gay, and he made a big deal out of it. And I remember saying to my husband, why? I mean, why do you have to bring that out? What difference does it make if your coach was gay or not? That would be like me saying, my piano teacher was heterosexual. What's the point? And so it's just part of mainstreaming of this issue.
What you have playing constantly on TV, of course, is syndicated sitcoms and shows that everyone is watching that have homosexual characters, of course, in a positive light, like just to name a few, ER, Will and Grace, which is unbelievably blatant, Friends, Spin City, NYPD Blue, these are all still in syndication. The Simpsons, Dawson's Creek, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Felicity. And although there are groups like American Family Association that are keeping a close eye on the activist activity and letting Hollywood know, it hasn't deterred Hollywood one little bit.
Well, you know what? We're going to take a break, and coming up on the other side, I want to talk about some of the courses that are taught in the universities on this subject, and also the latest positions of the military and the American Psychiatric and Psychological Associations, what their positions are currently. You're just not going to believe some of this. Stay with us.
Exposing the worldviews behind the political, cultural, and ideological wars being waged in our nation and world, Sharon packs an hour's worth of information into every half hour with news you can use.
Academia is often the wellspring of race hatred. This is something that we need to recognize. Eugenics, indeed, was a campaign to create a master race by do-gooders and progressives. They were attempting to create a utopia.
What's ending up happening is that Christians who say, I don't care about issues, they realize that's what's being used to silence the gospel. If they can silence the truth, they will silence the gospel.
You're being a watchwoman on the wall, Sharon. I say that with all sincerity. Appreciate what you're doing to sound the alarm, and we need more shows like yours.
Changing Worldviews is funded entirely through the tax-deductible donations of our supporters. If you've not done so already, renew your active support today. And if you're new to Changing Worldviews, would you consider helping us with a donation, becoming a monthly partner to help get the truth out and tell the world the side of the story that mainstream media doesn't report? Thank you so much ahead of time for supporting our efforts.
Well, welcome back. Audrey, Debra, and I are talking about the mainstreaming of gay pride, which includes every form of alternative sexual behavior. The Pentagon has a document that classifies homosexuality as a mental disorder, and decades after mental health experts abandoned that position, the document outlined retirement or discharge policies for service members with physical disabilities, and then they have a section on defects, which lists homosexuality alongside of mental retardation and and personality disorders. Now, Audrey, the American Psychiatric Association and also the American Psychological Association have homosexuality has been struck from their lists of disorders, and they did that years ago, but now they are doing that with transgender disorders. What can you tell us about that?
You know, the factors that determine the decision of the APA to remove homosexuality from the DSM-2 in 1973, let me just say the DSM is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. It simply can be summarized this way. Gay activists had a profound influence on psychiatric thinking. That's scary. A sincere belief was held by liberal-minded and compassionate psychiatrists that listing homosexuality as a psychiatric disorder supported and reinforced prejudice, so removal would be considered humane and a progressive act, and there was an acceptance of a new criteria to define psychiatric conditions. But gender identity dysphoria or disorder still remains on the DSM. There's a lot of pressure for that to change. And unfortunately, the way things are going, they're going to remove gender identity disorder, transsexualism, transvestic fetishism. But not everyone in the medical community is drinking the gay agenda's Kool-Aid, as I like to put it. Dr. Paul McHugh, who is a distinguished service professor of psychiatry at Johns Hopkins University, and was the professor and director of Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Science at Johns Hopkins from 1975 to 2001, wrote among his 150 papers, Psychiatric Misdirections, and I have a quote from him. I have witnessed the power of cultural fashion to lead psychiatric thought and practice, often false, even disastrous directions. I have become familiar with how these fashions and their consequences cause psychiatry to lose its moorings. Roughly every 10 years from the mid-1960s on, psychiatric practice has condoned some bizarre misdirection, proving how all too often the discipline has been the captive of the culture.
Well, and I want to talk about this in the third segment, but there are folks that are in this lifestyle and want to get out. So when you've got the American Psychiatric Association, the American Psychological Association saying that these people don't need help, where are they going to go? Well, Debra, I want to also in the next segment talk about what some of the courses are that the universities are teaching. But here in the San Francisco area, gay pride events hold nothing back. I mean, they have S&M rooms, alongside the parades and where they lure people in and just everything. But there's something called the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which are so irreverent now. You did some research on them. What can you tell us?
Well, actually, I even got in the middle of one of their parades once while I was taking a walk and was completely surrounded by these people that were dressed in extreme makeup and with nun habits and speaking for things that were really vile. But they were started in San Francisco in 1979 by 4 gay men. And it was a combination of street theater and political activism. And today there are 26 different orders in 7 different countries. And the idea is to go and sin some more. That's what they quote on their website. And they promote themselves as those who help the community by collecting and raising funds for charities and nonprofits, and by bringing a better understanding, they say on their website, of gay spirituality. And their roots, they admit, are in fairy paganism and Eastern mysticism, and their vow is to perpetually indulge in life and to encourage others to. And as nuns, self-proclaimed, they grant permission to others for perpetual indulgence. They forgive them of all sin and guilt often placed upon them, as they say, by right-wing religious and political organizations. So this is truly an in-your-face movement. It's they call themselves a leading-edge order of queer nuns, and they habitually inject gaiety into serious affairs, including human rights, political activism, and religious intolerance.
And just to be clear, these are not real nuns. So
no, but they claim they are.
Right.
They say we're not mocking nuns. We are nuns.
They are mocking nuns. They're mocking God. They're mocking Christians. And I've got an audio clip that I want to play to just give our audience an idea of the kinds of things that are out there. Aria Huffington, she's a liberal journalist, and she has a website that hosts video clips. This one is called Ex-Gays, where they mock ex-gays. They mock Christians. Here's just a taste.
Christian group Exodus International believes that homosexuality is a disorder that can be cured, like ignorance. The group is led by Alan Chambers here, who's obviously very hetero. When George Bush invited Mr. Chambers to the White House here at the Ointment, got very curious about his group and decided to find out more about it. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Mr. Chambers to come into the studio, but today we do have Sebastian Placard and his wife Susan of Exodus International who are going to talk to us, and I'm very curious to ask them, can sexual orientation be changed through therapy?
Oh, absolutely. Believe it or not, I myself used to be gay. And now I have a wife and 2 children.
Oh, this is God's miracle. We have 2 beautiful children.
They are adorable.
So how does one overcome his sexuality?
Through faith.
He's just such a pillar of strength. Not only has Sebastian overcome his homosexuality, but he's overcome sexuality altogether.
That is true.
He does not have any desire to have sex. Even when we were trying to have children, he said, nope, not going to do it. He's just so strong. I don't know how he does it. So, we got some babies from China.
Well, many would argue that sexuality is biological.
Well, let me tell you, biology doesn't stand a chance against Jesus.
Let me give you a scenario. Say you two are having a candlelit dinner.
Oh, Sebastian doesn't eat anymore.
I've conquered hunger.
Nothing. He's so strong.
I realized I was weak when I needed to eat 3 meals a day. And quite frankly, it was cutting into my prayer time. So I found the inner strength, and now I don't eat.
Nothing. Not since that chicken pot pie you had back in 97. He's also completely fought his urge to go to the toilet. He hasn't had a bowel movement in a long time.
Well, it's disgusting, and I didn't want to play any more of that, but...
Yeah, it did get worse from there.
It did get worse from there. There's just some things that I don't want to give airtime to, but that's just a taste of what's out there, and it's not some fringe 2 or 3. This is huge movement, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk more about that when we come back. I want to hear what Debra has to tell us, what some of the courses are that the universities are offering, and then we want to offer some hope.
Today's brand of entertainment is taking us down the wrong path. Media bias is literally warring against the truth. Education in America is molding the minds of our kids against parents' values, and much of the church is silent on these things.
This is Cliff Kincaid. I strongly recommend that you support Sharon Hughes as an alternative source of good, reliable, and accurate information.
Benjamin Franklin told us, he warned us that the founders gave us a republic if we will keep it. The ball is in our court.
The good news is that people are waking up. They're becoming more skeptical. They don't trust the news. But by the same token, they have to support programs like yours that get out views like mine. The fact is, we do have alternatives. I've been in Washington for 30 years. When I first came to D.C. in 78, I still had a manual typewriter. Anybody out there who's listening, Sharon, could take advantage of these opportunities now, because the survival of America, that's why I started my group called America's Survival. They said at the time, oh, you got to be kidding, Cliff. You're off your rocker. You're a lunatic. America's Survival? Well, they're not laughing anymore, are they?
Won't you help reach even more listeners with a financial donation? Go to www.changingworldviews.com, donate page, and give either a one-time contribution or become a monthly partner. Or send your check to Changing World Views, P.O. Box 750624, Petaluma, California 94975-0624.
Well, Debra, Audrey, and I are talking about the inroads the gay movement has made into American and actually around the world culture today, the 21st century. Debra, what kind of courses are they teaching at the universities these days?
Oh, the sky is the limit here. And universities, college education, this is a top industry next to publishing and social services to promote the gay agenda. At Stanford, Brown, Duke, the University of Virginia, North Carolina, all subjects go. Some of them would be things like gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender studies, bloodletting sexual activities, revolting behavior, challenges of women's sexual freedom, safer sex handbook for lesbianism, homoeroticism in literature and history, queer theory, queer geographics, and it just seems so amazing to me. You can get a degree in gay studies. Now, I don't know what kind of practical life career one could pursue following that, but the gay community is by far the most affluent of the minority group. And so they're highly represented in the college campuses because they are afforded numbers of scholarships, say through the Pride Foundation and the like. So they really are a promoter of an agenda that is friendly toward intergenerational intimacy, i.e. sex with children. In fact, the Gay Manifesto insists on adult sex with children. This is demand number 55, dating back to the 1993 March on Washington.
Wow. Okay, so I said I'd give you something that you can do that's practical to help repair, restore, rebuild our nation, particularly as it relates to the family, the breakdown of the family. We want it rebuilt. So here's something that you can do, and we're going to be talking about this particular topic more on Wednesday, and it is the Parental Notification, Child and Teen Safety Stop Predators Act here in California, and it's called ACA 5. This would place on the California ballot a constitutional amendment requiring parental notification before an abortion could be performed on a minor. And such a constitutional amendment was almost approved by the voters in 2008. And polls show that people of all political parties and other demographics are in favor of parental notification. Additionally, Californians now have even more reasons to approve this common sense constitutional amendment in light of the passage of AB 154 and AB 980, where abortions on young girls may now be performed by people who aren't even medical doctors in facilities that no longer are required to meet the standards for equipment and staffing that should be in place for their safety. Okay, and you can take action by contacting the Honorable Shannon Grove, California State Capitol, room 4208, Sacramento, California, 95814, or send a fax to 916-319-2134. Again, 916-319-2134, or email robert.smith@asm.ca.gov. robert.smith@asm.ca.gov. This bill, ACA 5, will be heard by the California Assembly Health Committee on Tuesday, January the 14th, and letters are due this week. So it's up to us. Take action. I encourage you to tune in every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday on KDIA AM 1640 at 4:30 p.m. and every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sundays for our 1-hour live stream show, which you can access by going to changingworldviews.com, listen online, or by telephone at 424-222-5360, or online, changingworldviews.com. Click on the Blog Talk Radio link, and that'll take you to our online stream show. And there's also archives there as well. And so until I see you next time, this is Sharon Hughes saying it like it is.
Thanks for listening to Changing Worldviews with Sharon Hughes. You can get more information on today's topic or order a CD of today's show by visiting changingworldviews.com or writing us at Changing Worldviews, P.O. Box 750624, Petaluma, California, 94975-0624. You can also contact us at talk@changingworldviews.com. That's talk@changingworldviews.com. Our program is listener-supported, and we appreciate your tax-deductible donations to help us get the truth out on the important issues Sharon addresses on the show. So until next time, remember, stay alert, stay informed. We live in a changing world.